Is there a God? It's just one of the many questions that we humans ask. How did the universe start? Does the cosmos have a supernatural creator? But we don't attempt to get answers for these questions. Stephen Hawking, the world's renowned scientist, gave brief answers to these big questions. To the question of is there a God, he gave a proof scientifically. I'm Sanjay, I'm a product of English Care. Let's get started. And with a disclaimer, I have no desire to offend anyone of faith. But I think science has a more compelling explanation than a divine creator. And I'm here to explain how science explains it. Okay, now let's get started. Science is increasingly answering questions that used to be the province of religion. Religion was an early attempt to answer all the questions we ask, like why are we here and where did we come from. Long ago, the answers to these questions were almost always the same. Gods made everything. To make sense of natural phenomena like lightning, storms, or eclipses, people believed in supernatural beings. Nowadays, science provides better and more consistent answers, but still, people will always cling to religion because it gives them comfort and they do not trust or understand science. If you believe in science, like I do, you believe that there are certain laws that are obeyed. Now let's get to the point. How did the universe come into existence? The universe was spontaneously created out of nothing according to the laws of science. Despite the complexity and variety of the universe, it turns out that to make one, you need 3 ingredients. So now let's imagine we have a cosmic cookbook. What are the 3 ingredients you need to cook up a universe? The first thing is matter, stuff that has mass. Matter is everywhere around us, in the ground beneath our feet and out in space. The second thing we need is energy. We all know what energy is, something we encounter every day. And the third thing you need to cook up a universe is space, lots of space. You can call the universe many things, awesome, beautiful, violent, but the one thing you can't call it is cramped. Everywhere we look, we see space, more space and even more space. So where could all this matter, energy and space come from? So the 2 of the main ingredients needed to make the universe, mass and energy, are basically the same thing. That is according to Albert Einstein's equation E is equal to mc square. It simply means that mass can be thought of energy and vice versa. So instead of 3 ingredients, we can now say that the universe has just 2, energy and space. And where did the energy and space come from? Energy and space were spontaneously invented in an event we now call the Big Bang. At the moment of the Big Bang, everything, the entire universe came into existence and with its space. But it all inflated like a balloon just being blown up. But how did the energy and space come from? How does an entire universe full of energy, the vast amount of space and everything in it appear out of nothing? And for some, here's where God comes back into the picture. It is God who created the space and energy. The Big Bang was the moment of creation. But science tells a different story. The great mystery at the heart of the Big Bang is to explain how an entire, fantastically enormous universe full of energy and space can materialize out of nothing. The secret lies in one of the strangest facts about our cosmos. The laws of physics demand the existence of something called negative energy. To help you get your head around this weird but crucial concept, let me draw in a simple analogy. Imagine a man wants to build a hill on a flat piece of land. So imagine a man wants to build a hill on a flat piece of land. The hill will represent the universe. To make this hill, he digs a hole in the ground and uses that soil to build the hill. So of course he's not just making the hill, he is also making a hole, in effect a negative version of the hill. The stuff that was in the hole has now become the hill, so it all perfectly balances out. And this is the principle behind what happened at the beginning of the universe. When the Big Bang produced a massive amount of positive energy, it simultaneously produced negative energy, the same amount of negative energy. So in this way the positive and negative add up to 0 always. It is another law of nature. So where is all this negative energy today? It's in the 3rd ingredient in our cosmic cookbook. It's in space. This may sound odd. Yes, this may sound strange, but according to the laws of nature concerning gravity and motion, the space itself is a vast store of negative energy, enough to ensure that everything adds up to 0. I'll admit that unless mathematics is your thing, this is hard to grasp, but it's true. The universe is like an enormous battery storing negative energy. The positive side of things, the mass and energy we see today, is like the hill, and the corresponding hole, or the negative side of things, is spread throughout space. So, what does this mean in our quest to find out if there is a God? It means that if the universe adds up to zero, adds up to nothing, then you don't need a God to create it, right? The universe is the ultimate free lunch. Since we know that the positive and negative always add up to zero, all we need to do now is to work out what, or that is a who, triggered the whole process in the first place. After all, so what caused the spontaneous appearance of the universe? After all, in our daily lives, things don't just materialize out of the blue. You can just click on your fingers and summon up a cup of coffee. You have to make it out of other stuffs like coffee beans, some milk and sugar. But if you travel down into the coffee cup, you go through the milk particles and down to the atomic level, right down to the subatomic level, and you enter a world where conjuring something out of nothing is possible. That's because particles such as protons behave according to the laws of nature we call quantum mechanics. And it means that the universe simply could have popped into existence without violating the known laws of nature. And here, but of course, the critical question is raised again. Did God create the quantum laws that allowed the Big Bang to occur? Our everyday experience makes us think that everything that happens must be caused by something that occurred earlier in time. So it's natural for us to think that something, maybe God, must have caused the universe to come into existence. But when we are talking about the universe as a whole, that isn't necessarily so. Let me explain. Imagine a river flowing down a mountainside. What caused the river? Well, perhaps the rain that fell earlier on the mountains. Okay, now, what caused the rain? The good answer would be the sun that shone down on the ocean and lifted the water vapor up into the sky and made the clouds. Okay, so what made the sun to shine? If we look inside, we see the process known as fusion, in which hydrogen atoms join to form helium. So far, so good. Okay, so when they join to form the helium, they will release a vast quantities of energy. So that's why sun is shining. Okay, so far so good. Where did the hydrogen come from? Answer: the Big Bang. So here's the crucial point. Here's the crucial point. You must listen carefully. The laws of nature itself tell us that not only the universe could have popped into existence without any assistance, but also it is possible that nothing caused the Big Bang. Nothing. The explanation lies back with the theory of Einstein. Yes, theories of Einstein relating to space and time. Something wonderful, very wonderful, happened to time at the instant of the Big Bang. Time itself began. To understand this mind-boggling idea, consider a black hole floating in space. So the black hole is so massive that not even light can escape its gravity. Its gravitational pull is so powerful it can not only distort light but also time. To see how, imagine a clock is being sucked into it. As the clock gets closer and closer to the hole, it begins to get slower and slower. Time begins to slow down. And now imagine as the clock enters the black hole. Well, assuming that the clock could withstand the extreme gravitational forces, the time would actually stop. It stops not because it is broken, but because inside the black hole there is no time. The time doesn't exist. And that's exactly what happened at the beginning of the universe. The role played by the time at the beginning of the universe is the final key to removing the need for a grand designer and to prove that universe created itself. So as we travel back in time towards the moment of the Big Bang, the universe gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and finally it comes to a point where the whole universe is an infinitely dense black hole. The laws of nature dictate something extraordinary. Yes, something quite extraordinary. So see, the universe was a dense black hole, and they tell us that here too time doesn't exist. You can't travel to the time back to the Big Bang, before the Big Bang, because there was no time before the Big Bang. We have finally found something that doesn't have a cause, because there was no time for a cause to exist in. And this means that there is no possibility of a God, because there is no time for a creator to have existed in. So when people ask if a God created the universe, the answer is the question itself makes no sense. Time didn't exist before the Big Bang, so there is no time for God to make the universe in. We are each free to believe in what we want. And the simplest explanation to is there a God is there is no God. No one created the universe and no one directs our fate. Thank you.